This video introduces the technique of lining. It will also show you how to line a paper object step by step and what materials you will need to do this. Lining is used to stabilize and support heavily damaged objects. For this purpose, Japanese paper is applied to the back of the whole surface. Lining is used to fill holes and tears and to flatten the paper. Overall, it makes the object easier to handle. Before lining an object, it should be considered whether other measures would be more appropriate, since lining highly affects the original material. For lining, following supplies are needed. Japanese paper, depending on the object you are working on. Adhesive, typically wheat starch paste. For water-sensitive paper, use Klucel mixed in with alcohol. Brushes, a sprayer filled with demineralized water, a wooden stick or polyester film. There are several traditional Japanese brushes used for lining, but other brushes with the same features are also suitable. Choosing the right brush for applying the paste and the one for rubbing the Japanese paper on top of the object is essential. To spread the paste, a soft goat hair brush is used, such as a nori baka brush. To wrap the paper on the back of the object, a harder brush with long hemp bristles is used, a so-called nadebake brush. Depending on the type of object to which the lining is to be applied, there are different types of Japanese paper to choose from. As a general rule, long-fibered kozo paper is suitable for lining. The color of the selected Japanese paper should be as similar as possible to the color of the object. The required thickness depends on the object characteristics and the severity of the damage. The lining sheet should not be thicker than the object itself. It is important that no information on the object is covered by the lining. The Japanese paper is placed on the back side of the object. If the surface is written on, the thinnest possible Japanese paper should be used so that the information remains visible. As far as the paste is concerned, it is best to use a thin wheat starch paste. By stirring in water, the paste is diluted until the consistency of buttermilk is reached. The Japanese paper is cut or torn into the right size. The grain direction of the Japanese paper and the object must be parallel to each other in order to avoid curling and deformation. The sheet of Japanese paper should also be about 2 to 3 centimeters larger than the object on each side. This way it will be easier to properly align it later. Before lining, the object should be humidified. This can be done, for example, in a humidification chamber or by spraying water on the object. Place the object face down on a fleece and align the tears and creases with a spatula or bone folder. The Japanese paper is conditioned by spraying water on it. Next, the wheat starch paste is applied from the center to the edges. The paste is applied on the Japanese paper and not directly on the object to prevent further damage. There are several ways to lift the Japanese paper and place it on the object. Usually a wooden stick is used as a support. The paste-coated Japanese paper is lifted at one corner along its short side and placed on the wooden stick. Using the stick, the paper sheet can be lifted and moved. The wooden stick makes it easier to handle the wet Japanese paper, especially when working with objects of larger size. The other short side of the paper is placed on the object and rubbed onto it with a brush. The Japanese paper is laid slowly on the surface of the object. At the same time, it is important to make sure that the paper is adhered on the full surface using the brush. The brush is moved always from the center to the edges. For beginners, polyester film can be used instead of a wooden stick. The Japanese paper is placed on the polyester film. Then water is sprayed on the Japanese paper and the adhesive is applied. Next, the film is turned upside down and placed over the object. The Japanese paper is placed on the object along a short side and rubbed by hand. After that, the film is lifted gently at one corner and removed from the object. Using the brush, the Japanese paper is rubbed once again onto the object. After lining, the object is dried, weighted between polyester fleece and blotting paper. Any excess paper along the edges is removed with a scalpel or scissors after drying. However, this step can also be skipped since the excess paper can be used for future mounting. Before lining, the object was hard to handle because of its many tears, creases and holes. Through lining, the tears and holes were repaired, the creases were smoothed out and the risk of further damage was minimized. Lining has a major impact on the object and should therefore only be carried out if other measures are not adequate. Through lining, heavily damaged objects can be stabilized again. The material selection depends on the type of object the lining is applied to.